In a world where every move you make is under scrutiny, it's easy to lose touch with what it's like to live simply. A life not weighed down by billion-dollar businesses and world-altering goals. A life where the toughest decision is whether to buy milk or bread. Yet on a crisp morning, Elon Musk, one of the most famous names on the planet, longed for that kind of normalcy. It's a story of a billionaire trying to observe the life of a regular man in a shopping center among all of the casual guys. Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. Let's dive in. Sitting alone in his sleek Tesla, Elon stared out the window at a small, unassuming grocery store across the street. It was the kind of place where the world didn't look at you differently, where the aisles didn't echo with expectations or assumptions. It was just a store filled with the everyday items most of us take for granted. Loaves of bread, cartons of milk, chocolate bars. And for once, that felt like exactly what he needed. He didn't want to send someone to do it for him. He didn't want the luxury of hiding behind assistance and security. He simply wanted to walk into that store, as any person would, and pick out what he needed. With a soft sigh, he pushed open the car door. His hoodie was worn, the jeans slightly faded from years of use, and his sneakers were scuffed from countless travels. There was nothing about him that screamed billionaire. In fact, if anything, he looked like any other person simply going about their day. He didn't mind that. He preferred it that way. As he entered the store, a warm, earthy scent of freshly baked bread greeted him. It was comforting in a way that even the most luxurious hotels couldn't replicate. It made him smile, just a little, but it was enough. For the first time in a long while, he felt like just another person in the world, not Elon Musk, just someone who wanted to buy some bread and enjoy a moment of peace. He grabbed a basket and wandered the aisles, moving in a slow, unhurried rhythm. He picked up a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, and a chocolate bar. Simple, ordinary. But for him, it was the freedom he had been missing. No business deals to finalize, no meetings to attend, no one waiting on his every word. He was just a man picking out items for his kitchen. He noticed the quiet of the store. It was just a few customers milling about, and no one seemed to be paying him any attention. It was a rarity, a welcome rarity. For a moment, Elon felt like he was rediscovering a part of himself he had forgotten, a part of him that was untouched by the world's expectations. But as he approached the checkout counter, the silence shattered. The young woman behind the register gave him a quick once-over, her eyes sharp and cold. There was something about her gaze that didn't sit right with him. She wore a faint smirk, as though she had already sized him up and found him wanting. "Can't believe they let anyone walk in here these days," the cashier said. Elon froze for a brief moment. He hadn't expected this kind of greeting, not here, not now. But he didn't react. Instead, he quietly placed his items on the counter, trying to push the uncomfortable feeling away. His mind raced, but he kept his expression neutral. She scanned the items slowly, deliberately. Each beep of the scanner felt louder, almost oppressive. She never once looked up at him, as if trying to make him feel insignificant. It was as if she were daring him to say something. "Is that all?" Cashier asked. "Yes," Elon replied, his voice steady. He handed over his card, still trying to keep the moment as simple as possible. The cashier took the card, glancing at it briefly before raising an eyebrow. She didn't even try to hide her judgment. Her eyes scanned it once more, as if she were waiting for something to jump out at her. Cashier said again, "Oh, so you're paying with a card? I was sure you'd try asking for a discount or something." Elon's patience began to thin. It wasn't like he had expected a parade when he walked into the store. But this? This felt like more than just a minor inconvenience. It felt personal. But he kept his voice even, refusing to let her bait him. "Just run the card, please," Elon said in a calm voice. She swiped the card but then paused. The machine flashed a red declined message. Elon's stomach dropped. He could feel the eyes of the few customers around him now focusing in on the exchange, the tension rising. The cashier didn't miss a beat. Declined. Look at that. Declined. Cashier said, Elon's face flushed with embarrassment. It wasn't just the situation, it was the way the cashier said it. She didn't try to cover it up. She didn't try to make it discreet. Instead, she called out his failure to the whole store, drawing attention from everyone in the vicinity. Elon stood there, stunned. His patience was quickly evaporating, but he still refused to raise his voice. "Yeah, right. Who does he think he's fooling? Looks like he can't even afford bread," Cashier said. Elon felt the weight of the crowd's eyes on him. It wasn't just the cashier now. It was everyone. He could hear the whispers, could feel the judgments being passed. The sudden surge of humiliation was nearly overwhelming. His first instinct was to explain, to tell them who he really was, but something in him held back. Instead, he looked at the cashier, his face unreadable. "Try it again," Elon said. Without a word, the cashier swiped the card again, but the result was the same. Declined. "Clearly doesn't have the funds, or maybe he just found the card lying around somewhere," Cashier said. Elon's heart pounded in his chest. The whispers grew louder, and the laughter from the crowd started to rise. He could feel the sting of every word, the mockery of it all. But he didn't break. He wouldn't. "I'll pay with cash," Elon said. The cashier's eyes lit up with disbelief, her voice dripping with derision. "Oh, now he's got cash. Let me guess. It's all in pennies," Cashier said. The laughter grew. Elon could feel it. His hands shook as he pulled his wallet from his pocket. He fumbled for the bills, trying to ignore the feeling of being exposed. The crowd's judgment hung in the air, a heavy weight pressing down on him. But he didn't let them see him falter. When he handed over the cash, the cashier didn't stop. She waved over the manager, her voice louder than before. "This guy claims he's Elon Musk. Now he's trying to pay with cash. Doesn't that sound fishy to you?" Cashier said. The manager, a tall man with a hard look in his eyes, came over and took the money. He didn't inspect it for counterfeits or question it. Instead, he focused on Elon's ID. His eyes lingered on it, and for a moment, it seemed like he was waiting for something to go wrong. "This doesn't prove anything. Anyone can fake an ID these days," manager said. The comment hit harder than the manager probably realized. Elon stood still, trying to keep his emotions in check. This wasn't about the money. It wasn't even about the items. It was about the humiliation, the absolute disbelief that anyone could think he wasn't who he said he was. "I just want to pay for my items and leave," Elon said. But the manager didn't seem to care. He wasn't ready to let this go. He crossed his arms, casting a shadow over Elon, his presence suffocating. "Not until we verify your identity," manager said. A security guard appeared, standing behind Elon with a hand firmly placed on his shoulder. The touch felt cold. "Let's go, buddy," guard said. And so, in front of the entire store, Elon Musk was escorted out. The cashier's voice, filled with mockery, followed him out the door. "Better luck next time, Mr. Musk," Cashier said. Elon stood in the parking lot, his face red with the heat of embarrassment. The humiliation washed over him in waves. He was alone, but the crowd's laughter still echoed in his mind. His chest tightened, and for a moment, he almost wished he had stayed in his car. But then something else surged within him, a feeling of resolve. "This won't define me," Elon said. And it didn't. That moment, which could have broken someone else, instead became the spark for something much greater. Elon Musk wasn't just going to walk away from this. He had been knocked down, but his fire wasn't extinguished. In fact, it was just beginning to grow. He would go on to create Better Choice, a grocery chain that would not only face harsh criticism and smear campaigns, but would also redefine customer service in ways no one thought possible. Through setbacks, through harassment, and even through the destruction of property at one of the stores, Elon never wavered. He knew what he was doing, and no matter how difficult it got, he remained determined to stay true to his values. And then a letter arrived, a letter from a grateful customer who had been impacted by Better Choice. She spoke about how the store had changed her life, how the kindness of the employees had made a difference when she needed it most. That letter was all Elon needed. It reminded him why he started this journey in the first place. Better Choice wasn't just a grocery store. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that kindness and respect mattered, and that they could change the world, even in small ways. As the store grew, so did the respect people had for it. And through it all, Elon's unwavering belief in the power of kindness remained at the core of the company. When asked about his success, Elon didn't boast. He didn't talk about business strategies or how many stores he had opened. Instead, he simply said, "Treat people like they matter, and they'll prove that they do," Elon said. And that in the end was his greatest triumph. Thank you for joining me in this story. Remember, sometimes the greatest battles aren't the ones we fight against others. They are the ones we fight with ourselves. And it's through those moments, those battles, that we find our true strength. Until next time.